virus which causes the damage to the lung. We all are aware that the primary affection here is the lung. Whenever there is an infection, the person will have the symptoms. Most of the person, depending upon immunity, they remain asymptomatic. Whereas fever, fatigue, cough, sore throat, running nose, diarrhea, abdominal pain, vomiting, myalgia, shortness of breath, and loss of smell and taste, these are the commonest symptoms of this disease. And we are aware that by this time, every one of us is aware that if we have any one of these symptoms, we have to report to the hospital and to the government authorities. Now, this is a disease which is affecting the lung, and whenever there is affection of the lung, the infected lung epithelial cells, they produces IL-8 and IL-6. In the pathology, we have already aware that these are the mediators which has a high affinity towards the neutrophil and T cells. IL-8 is a chemoattractant for neutrophils, which causes the accumulation of more and more neutrophils, T cells, and related the mechanism. We will not go in the detail of that mechanism, but just try to understand this results into the infiltration of large number of inflammatory cells into the lung. So whenever there is an inflammatory cell, there is a production of inflammatory fluid, and that fluid is getting accumulated in the alveoli. So the alveoli, which has air inside the lung, that is replaced by the fluid. And another thing is that these neutrophils, they are the one which causes injury to the lung. So there is a injury to the lung, and we are aware that whenever there is injury to the lung, that is healed, or any tissue, it is healed by either scarring, necrosis, calcification, or fibrosis. So lung tissue also heals by this, resulting into the potent fibrosis. Acute pathology is there is a replacement of air by the fluid. This inflammatory fluid.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, you are not properly audible. Can you just keep the mic near to you?
Okay. The inflammatory fluid is present in the alveoli, which affects the diffusion of the oxygen and gases exchange, resulting into the significant hypoxemia. This is a disease in which the type 1 respiratory failure is seen, hypoxic, because the oxygen diffusion is affected. So we are supposed to understand that acute, there is a significant reduction in the oxygen saturation. The hallmark of this disease is the desaturation. The patient, they desaturate very easily with simple physical activity. Just by turning the position in the bed or getting up from the bed, doing 2-3 hip knee extension exercises, there is a significant drop in the saturation. So this is the pathology of the COVID-19. Another thing is that when we say the COVID, entire country, the health system was challenged in last 4-5 months. We are not aware about this type of the pandemic. The system worked to provide the services, to give the support, to save the people. And to a great extent, all are parts of healthcare, all healthcare workers and the government, they were able to do that. I belong to the Mumbai, and we have, from the first few weeks till date, we have the highest number in the entire country. So the system was completely challenged. The main aim was to save the people. Whatever way possible, everyone has done best to save the people. What happened in 1.5 months back, there was a report in Times of India and Hindu in Mumbai that they have studied 4 or 5 cases which came back to the hospital after the discharge of discharged from the COVID. So they were hospitalized to the COVID, and when they became negative, they were at home, and after 1.5 months they returned back to the hospital with same features, but this time they were negative. So 4-5 case studies were there, and they entire medical fraternity start thinking over this. So this is now it is called as post-COVID syndrome, post-COVID illness, post-COVID fibrosis, post-COVID chronic fatigability syndrome. So this is a broad term for this. So post-COVID, those survivors who save from this, they are having some sort of features, that is the post-COVID syndrome. And our area to discuss is the rehabilitation of this post-COVID syndrome or illness. This is commonly seen in the COVID survivors. The basic thing is that the person are having simple symptoms like muscle weakness, muscle wasting, fatigability, dyspnea, exertional desaturation. This is the major finding. With a simple activity, they are desaturating a lot. Lung fibrosis. Some are also having some neurological complaints. Some are having difficulty in doing the day-to-day activities, and they are getting early fatigability or chronic fatigue syndrome. So this is something called as post-COVID illness, post-COVID syndrome. Now what happened in the state of Maharashtra? They had a COVID task force, and as the number of these patients are increasing, they form the COVID OPD, post-COVID OPD, and now it started function in last 3-4 weeks, where these kind of the patients are admitted. And here the physiotherapists are the major important factor. We'll discuss that in coming slide. COVID, in this period, everything was new. Our radiologists, they have done wonderful work, and they have given one classification called as CORAD scoring for the diagnosis of the COVID. So in this picture, you can clearly see the 5 gradings of COVID. CORAD 1, that is Corona Radio Diagnostic Analysis and Documenting System, grade 1. It is unlikely. That means there is no chance of corona. If the CORAD rating is 2, there is a low risk of COVID. If it is 3, it is intermediate or borderline risk of corona. CORAD 4, high level of suspicion, and CORAD 5 is a classical case of the COVID-19. So this kind of the post-COVID syndrome is very common in the CORAD rating grade 4 and 5. In this slide, you can see CORAD 1, first picture above, the lung is almost normal. You can see the black shadows, that means the lung is properly aerated. CORAD 2, there is a mild involvement in the outer 1-2 centimeter. You can get some white shadows. In CORAD 3, you can get the shadows. There is a starting of fibrosis. CORAD 4, we have 2 images. In second image, you can clearly see that there is a fibrosis on the right hand side. In the lower side, you can get there is a fibrosis, and CORAD 5 is a classical picture of the corona. So CORAD 4 and 5 are the area of worry for us. Definitely the testing is done, but CT scan is giving actual picture of lung damage, and we are supposed to see that. Now this is a picture in which you can clearly see it is a comparison between mild, moderate and severe type of the disease. In above picture, there are 3 slides which is taken in interval, that is immediately, then after 2 weeks, and then after 1.5 months. So these are the 3 different pictures. So in first upper one, the mild, there is negligible or there is no involvement of lung. The lung tissue is preserved. These are the recordings from asymptomatic patients or patients who are having mild symptoms like fever and other respiratory symptoms, breathlessness, it is not there. Their lung tissue is paired normally. So there is less affection. Second, if you see, that is a moderate kind of the disease in which you can clearly see the white shadows in the lung. So white shadows signifies that there is a fibrosis of the lung. In second side, the middle one, you can clearly see the bronchial thickening and there is a fibrosis. Whereas the third lower picture, see, in that if you compare first, second, middle and the last one, you can clearly see the amount of fibrosis. The black tissue is replaced by white. And this is what a challenge to a physiotherapist. Physiotherapist, we treat the patient in the ICU, outside the ICU with a collapse. We re-inflate the lung in occupational lung diseases, even interstitial fibrosis cases. We do open the airways, open the alveoli. Now this is an area where we have to work more. Some portion of the lung has undergone irreversible changes. Some portion is viable. So the residual lung we have to work, or we have to work in such a way that before the discharge, when the person is in the hospital ICU, we can give breathing exercise and intervention so that the picture will not turn into the whiter shadows. So this is a comparison of mild, moderate, severe diseases, and these are resulting into the significant lung fibrosis. Now everywhere these reports are recorded, and it is established that patients who are in the higher category, serious category, they are landing in the significant airway, significant lung fibrosis. Here I will share one of my case which I have treated in my ICU. In our ICU, when I took the over from the previous physiotherapist, my colleague, he said to me, particular bed number, sir, just go and keep your hand on the posterior part of that particular patient. And when I kept, I just touch it, because most of the times we try to minimize the contact, but just to see what is that condition, I got a feeling of stony dullness without doing the percussion. Just by keeping the hand, the feeling was hard. The lung has turned into the fibrous lung. So that is what we have to do. Physiotherapy intervention, it basically depends, as sir has already mentioned, SP Singh sir in his inaugural speech, that asymptomatic and 3-4 different categories of the patient. So physiotherapy approach also depends on these things. The first, asymptomatic, symptomatic with oxygen therapy, without oxygen therapy, and those who are at home, this is second category. Third category, symptomatic with oxygen therapy, high flow oxygen therapy, and hospitalized. And fourth category, ICU admitted patients on ventilatory support. So these are the 4 category of patients which we are getting, and depending upon that we have to do the treatment. Asymptomatic patient, they are not getting the respiratory signs and symptoms. So their condition, they are, we must say that they are lucky that they recovered without the symptoms and without the lung damage. But now the reports are getting all over the India that these patients after 1.5 months, they are coming with a complaint of muscle weakness or joint pain. Other than that, no breathlessness, nothing. So a symptomatic patient can come to your OPD after 1.5 months of recovery. Probably they can have the muscular problem. Second category, mild disease, that is also affection is less. The affection more is to the patient who are on the high oxygen therapy and ICU admitted patient. So the lung damage is more in category 3 and 4, high flow oxygen and patients who are on the mechanical ventilator. Those patients will turn into the most of the times in the ICU, either in the COVID pneumonia or COVID ARDS. These are the two cases. Later they will have the maximum complication. So in such patient, we have to give the treatment. Broadly, we'll classify the treatment in two headings. One, the lung expansion therapy, and second, the aerobic training. Because O2 desaturation is the major problem in this patient. So first, for lung expansion, positioning, we are always using this non-invasive technique. We are giving the positioning to correct the ventilation perfusion mismatch in the ICU. Government guidelines have clearly said prone position can be used. We can facilitate lateral sidelining and prone positioning to optimize the tidal volume. So those interventions which are aimed to increase the tidal volume of the breath all falls into the category of lung expansion therapy. We have to give that. After that, the breathing exercises, deep breathing exercises, diaphragmatic breathing, segmental expansion, all kind of these exercises we are supposed to give to the patient, because the lung tissue which is viable, we have to expand them, or we have to prevent the chances of fibrosis. So for that purpose, we are supposed to give these exercises will increase the tidal volume. Also, if we are giving the end inspiratory hold, the gas exchange that will be also increased. So not only breathing exercises, but inspiratory hold of 3 to 5 seconds every breath, that will increase the gas exchange across the alveolar capillary membrane. Then abdominal diaphragmatic breathing exercises that we have to give. We have to give sniffing at the end of inspiration. If patient is able to drag some more air in the lung, we can do that. Sniffing can be given. Respiratory PNF technique, which is available in the physiotherapy. That techniques we can use to increase the contraction of respiratory muscle, intercostal stretching, other kinds of diaphragm facilitation that we can increase, give to increase the tidal volume. Another area here is we can use the mechanical devices like incentive spirometer is available, which we use, that can be given from the of hospitalization, so that the expansion of lung will be kept proper and gases exchange will be facilitated, resulting into the decrease in the hypoxemia and prevention of the lung collapse. IPPB is one of the technique which is used for other type of patients in the physiotherapy, that can be also used here. That is intermittent positive pressure breathing. So intermittent positive pressure breathing is one of the form of the breathing technique with the use of application of pressure. But here I like to inform you that there is no data available for efficacy of IPPB in the COVID, because this is new to everyone. There is no data on this. However, this is helpful in other type of restrictive diseases and collapse cases. We can try this. There is one more device which is EasyPAP. In this picture, you can see that device. This device we use in the ICU for collapse patients or interstitial lung disease patient, to increase the open the collapse airways and for the expansion. This can be used in the treatment of post-COVID fibrosis. Again, I am saying there is no data on this. However, we have tried recently in 2 patients and we are getting the some sort of similar result which we get to the other cases. So in this device, this is connected to the oxygen. This is positive pressure device. Person has to inspire and expire in that. Whenever the person is doing expiration, 5 to 20 centimeter pressure that is generated, and that pressure is positive pressure is sent back to the airways. So during expiration, a positive pressure is created in the airways, which keeps the airways open, and that is helpful for the opening of airways as well as the patients who are having some sort of fibrosis. You can also use that for this. But again, there is no data available on this. We have to work and we have to give the statistics. Now, second thing is that exercise training and activity training, aerobic training. For that purpose, we have to do the exercise testing of the patient. It is commonly seen in this kind of the patient is that after 1.5 months, when they are coming to the physiotherapy OPD, they are unable to do the 6-minute walk test. Patients who had 4-5 moderate to severe type of the disease, who were in the ICU for long duration and with a significant pulmonary fibrosis, they are unable to complete even a 6-minute walk test. So in that condition, you can go for 2-minute walk test, 3-minute walk test, as it is possible. The data from that, the distance which is covered, that we can utilize to prescribe the exercise activity. If the patient is asymptomatic, easily the patient can do the 6-minute walk test. Symptomatic patients who have undergone the O2 therapy, even they can go tolerate the 6-minute walk test, but the symptomatic with high flow oxygen ventilatory support, they are the one who are unable to complete this test. In Indore, in Mumbai also, 6-minute walk test is used to screen the patient, decide the aerobic capacity of the patient before the discharge. So always start with this, start from 2-minute and progress to the 6-minute walk test. Now, one of the problem with this patient is that significant desaturation. I was treating one patient, 36-year-old lady, was on the CPAP, and she was having the diagnosis of COVID ARDS. When I started with ankle toe movement, she was able to do 5, and after that, hip knee flexion extension. After 2 to 3 repetition, the saturation which was 94, it suddenly came to the 84, and I have stopped that time, but it took around 9 to 10 minutes to return back to the normal, which is something different. Other patient within 2 to 3 minutes it will come back to normal. Here the patients are taking lot of time to get back to the normal. So as a physiotherapist, when we are giving exercises, we have to check, we have to give attention to the SpO2 value, desaturation and tachycardia. Very commonly you will get in these patients. Just to start with simple exercise, suddenly there will be tachycardia and desaturation. So that you have to take into consideration. Treatment protocol is different for different categories, as we have seen, and POC scale, rate of perceived exertion of POC scale, should be used to check the breathlessness and fatigue. The one which we have learned in the 3rd year, 4th year BPTH, that is a beautiful outcome measure because the person's basic problem is breathlessness and easy fatigability. In order to prevent that, activity pacing, pace the activity, give some breaks in between that, educate the person about the activity pacing, so that will help the patient to tolerate these activities. Activity intolerance is one of the finding in this kind of the patient. With simple activities, patients are desaturating. Now, all associations, all research associations, they are in the process to work on this because there are no guidelines. Physiotherapists are sharing their experiences, and from that experiences, the guidelines are coming. In Maharashtra also, our council has given that guideline for management of patient in the ICU. Now, post-COVID rehabilitation, recently, 4 or 5 days back, European Respiratory Society has given this interim guideline for rehabilitation, and they have recommended 12 to 13 things. The first thing what they said is, do not wait for the patient to come out of the ICU. Rehabilitation should start within the ICU or in the ward, because the more you will wait, there will be more lung damage. In that condition, prophylactically, you can start with the chest physiotherapy, breathing exercises, and other techniques. Once the patient is getting discharged from the hospital, the first thing what we have to do is the oxygen requirement assessment. That is done by submaximal or maximal exercise test. Maximal exercise test is not possible in moderate to severe category, hence submaximal 6-minute walk test has to be taken before the discharge. It is advisable by the experts that these kind of the patients should do regular daily activities in first 6 to 8 weeks, because the person has undergone through a trauma of getting COVID positive, hospitalized, ICU, coming back normal to the home, and because of the lockdown and other things, the person is not going out of the home. So the activity is already decreased. The lung is fibrosed. Desaturation is there. So it is highly recommended that for 6 to 8 weeks, this patient should do the activity or exercises. Exercises with low to moderate intensity exercise. You should not go for high intensity exercise because that is not tolerated by the patient. So we have to do that. And also it is required that physical emotional functioning assessment of that has to be done, because emotional component is one of the component, as Madam Tumoni Madam has already mentioned in her speech, that the psychological support that is also there. So physical assessment and emotional functioning assessment is also advisable in this patient. These patients, most of the time they will have acute respiratory failure, hypoxic type of failure. Hence, the outcome measures which we are using for that can be used for this patient. And all guidelines have mentioned one thing, even the Indian guidelines also coming now, the PFT is mandatory. Check the lung function after 1 month, 1.5 month, check the PFT values. PFT is giving a realistic picture of lung affection. Asymptomatic patients, few of our asymptomatic patients, when we do the PFT on that, here we got they were not breathlessness, they were having some sort of desaturation, or most of them they were absolutely fine. But on PFT, peak mid expiratory flow rate, PF 25 to 75%, that was decreased. Rest everything was normal in asymptomatic patients. So that gives idea that even there is a slight involvement of smaller airways and the initiation is started. So PFT is commonly advisable for any patient who is coming to back to the physiotherapy rehabilitation. Chest CT scan and PFT, these two investigations are there, and routinely every week we can do the PFT to check whether the program which we have given, exercise program, has benefited the patient or not. Again, the exercise capacity, that is 6-minute walk test, it has to be given, and guidelines are saying that a comprehensive rehabilitation program, including psychological rehabilitation by the particular concerned professionals, is also important, because that will also give a great. Few patients are having the lower limb muscle wasting. Those who are having long stay in the ICU, significant lower limb muscle wasting, in that patient, muscle strengthening program and nutritional support program is also advisable. So Madam Gitumoni has clearly mentioned that nutritional support is also required. Same thing is needed in these patients which are coming to the physiotherapy. Muscle wasting patient, strengthening program and nutritional support is mandatory. And again, psychological assessment, psychological support by particular concerned professional is also important. These are the guidelines which has been given by the European Respiratory Societies 3-4 days back, which is available on their website, and guidelines are sent for the, they are in press, not yet published, but published on the website. Other than that, there are no specific guidelines in our country. People are working on that in relation to the post-COVID rehabilitation. Many organizations are working on that. Just we have to understand that we have to take care of desaturation and tachycardia. With this, I like to stop here. We have to understand that post-COVID syndrome, post-COVID illness, post-COVID fibrosis, post-COVID chronic fatigability syndrome, whatever may be the name, there is a impairment. The lung impairment is there, muscle involvement is there, and as a physiotherapist, it is a challenge to us, the medical fraternity, the nursing fraternity, the intensivist, pulmonologist, medical medicine people have done their role by saving these people in a very difficult situation. They are working since last 4-5 months, and now the patient is out in the community. We have to make them normal or near to normal. I am sure the physiotherapist community will take this responsibility as a challenge and will deliver the best in this pandemic. And that is what the theme of our topic, rehabilitation in the COVID. Again, I am thankful to the Royal Global University, SP Singh sir, Gitumuni madam, Ujjwal sir, Abhishek Das sir, and all the faculty, students for kindly listening to me. Happy World Physiotherapy Day.
Thank you so much, sir, for educating us. It was a great learning experience. Now, let's move on to the question and answer round. If the contestants have or the participants have any questions, they can put the questions to the chat box so that we can ask our respected Sudeep Kale sir for his valuable answer. In the meanwhile, I have a question, sir. Sir, can you please give us some idea about some of the breathing exercises for which can be given to the COVID patients?
The first thing is the deep breathing exercises with the more concentration on the inspiratory time and the hold. Segmental breathing expansion, which is located to that particular area wherever there is a damage is there. That can be also given. In few hospitals, categorization exercises are included. Even you can do the different breathing yogic exercises for that purpose. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much, sir, for the answer. Sir, I have one more question. So, why there is a collapse of the lungs alveoli in COVID-19 patients? Can you please elaborate?
Yes, there is a few cases, severe cases. There is a collapse of lung because there is infiltrate in the lung. The air is removed and collapse is already seen. So in this kind of the thing, a chest physiotherapy, or if it is related to the secretion accumulation, if the airways are blocked because of secretion accumulation, in that case, a chest physiotherapy, postural drainage percussion can be of use. So these are the cases many places are getting.
Thank you so much. We have another question, one question from Bernali. We know that the benefits of prone positioning in COVID-19 cases, but due to some other reasons, like example, abdominal distension or increase in ICP pronation, prone position cannot be done. Is there any substitute to the prone positioning that can benefit the patient?
Regarding the ICP, mostly the head down position is one of the area of worry. Prone position can be given in this condition. Definitely, if there is a problem with the abdominal, then additional pillows can be given and that can be facilitated. Prone position is beneficial in the ARDS. Normally it is proved. Even COVID ARDS also this is used, or patients wherever there is a ventilation perfusion mismatch. In that prone position is the priority because that corrects the weak by Q mismatch very positive. So alternate arrangements you can do, some pillows or some tilting type of the beds can be used to give this prone position. But at present, as per the government guidelines, prone position has to be given for the patient in the ICU.
Thank you so much, sir. In the meanwhile, I am seeing that there is no questions coming in the chat box. So I think with this, we have come to the end of this wonderful session, and where we are celebrating the World Physiotherapy Day. To conclude this session, I would like to take the opportunity to thank Dr. A.K. Pansari sir, Chancellor of Royal Global University, Professor Dr. S.P. Singh sir, Vice Chancellor of the Assam Royal Global University, Dr. Gitomani Kumar ma'am, Dean of Royal School of Medical and Allied Sciences and the Royal School of Nursing, Dr. Ujjal Bhattacharya, Head of Department of the Royal School of Medical and Allied Sciences, and all the faculty members of RGU and the participants for their constant support. A special thanks has to be given to Dr. Sudeep Kale sir for sharing his valuable thoughts. I would like to thank the IT department who has really helped us to smoothly operate this webinar. Lastly, I would like to thank all the participants of this session for their patience and participation. Thank you so much. Stay safe and happy World Physiotherapy Day to you all. Once again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks to everybody.